My name's Annabel Wilson and I'm a Shibori textile artist. Shibori is a word for a Japanese word which means to wring or to squeeze, which is exactly what you do to the fabric in the process of creating with Shibori. The fabric's tied and sewn in different ways to create all the designs that I've got onto the fabric. And another way of describing it is to call it sophisticated tie-dye, which I think immediately explains what's going on. Yeah, this is an example of one of my lampshades, and here there are four different Shibori techniques shown in this simple lampshade. It all involves folding the fabric and stitching it in different ways. There's what's called miru Shibori, which creates these leaves. There's orinui Shibori, which creates the lines of stitching that you see. This is the little seed heads here are created with what's called maquillage Shibori, and the stitching along the top is Mikumi Shibori. This is a very good lamp. It shows a lot of different approaches to how you create with Shibori. So first of all, I have a lovely plain piece of prepared cotton, which is prepared for dyeing or printing, and I actually draw the design. I always and quite accurately place the design on the fabric. And here is a little bit similar to the green shade that I showed you, with leaves and a stem and some little seed heads. Then once I've drawn my design, I then really work out all the different kinds of stitching that I'm going to need to do to create my design, to create the different patterns. Here are just a number of examples of different stitching. Lots of close together stitching here will create a really nice overall pattern, a little bit like the leaf design. This single, just a simple running stitch, is also a brilliant. You can create lots of different sorts of patterns using just this stitch. So that's something, and the top piece is actually Mikumi stitching, which will create, this is a thistle, so this will create the strands of the thistle at the top. And then once I've done all that sewing, it's all quite mad, I then pull it up really, really tight, like this, which will then resist the dye where I've pulled it up really tightly. Each thread that I've sewn, I need to pull up individually as this, and I then tie again. I tie a little piece in the end, which will secure the stitching, and I do that for all my rows of stitching. And then it looks like this, and then I will dye it in either with some synthetic dyes, which give the brighter colours, or I might use plant dyes, onion skins, dried flowers, walnut hulls, madder root, lots of different things to give me different colours. So as well as making light fittings, I also make some silk scarves, and here is a piece completed which is quite similar to the piece here originally, where it's got a stem and some leaves coming off it, and you can see the effect once it's been dyed and then all the stitching has been unpicked, the kind of lovely effects that you can get. This little bits of dye still in here where you just get spots of it, and it's completely random. You can't actually control how that happens, so there's always the chance involved in dyeing with Shibori, even though I can plan and carefully what I'm going to do. And Shibori and indigo are really hand in hand, because the Japanese, a lot of their designs are created with indigo, so it's very traditional. And this is indigo on silk, and there's sort of 3 different patterns that I've created here: a lovely simple stripe, some large leaves, and this sort of running stem of leaves to create a scarf. Okay, so I run regular workshops in Shibori, and usually they're a day or a weekend, and I teach, I explain all these different stitches that I've been talking about, and everybody has an opportunity to create a scarf or a cushion cover or a hanging. And I usually use indigo, which is a really exciting dye to use because the whole process is quite magical, because it comes out of the dyeing vat as yellow, and then as you look at it, it turns blue. So it's a lovely process in itself. So that's sort of the day workshops. And I have a website which has all that information on it about my workshops, about the work that I actually made, my scarves and my light fittings.